Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, Aunt Debbie's Boutique, where we teach the love of sewing to beginners, children, and adults alike. Today we're going to be making a baby bib that accompanies the baby burp rag that we made last week. Unfortunately, I had many camera problems with this video, so I'm going to be narrating the first part of this where the camera was accidentally had the audio turned off. There is a piece that is missing from this, and luckily it is the cutting out of the applique part, which is exactly like we did last week. So if you will refer to the baby burp pattern, then you'll be able to complete the applique if you don't understand what I'm explaining in the video. So today the baby bib that we're making is going to complement our burp rag and with complementary colors, and it's going to have the exact same applique on it. You'll need the pattern piece that is in my pattern on my Etsy shop, AuntDebbiesBoutique.com, and it also comes with the duck applique pattern, and there's also kits available that contain all the fabric that you need. But if you want to source your own fabric, that's perfectly fine. You'll need something from the front that is 10 inches wide and 14 inches in length. And you'll need the same size piece for the back in something like a terry cloth or a flannel. Something absorbent is better than just a plain cotton backing. I went ahead and cut out the back to save time, but you're going to fold the front fabric so that it's 5 by 14 in size, and you're going to cut this pattern on the fold. If you want to make your own pattern, it is about 13.5 in length, and the base part of it is about 4.5. And the cutout part is about 3.5 inches in length and about 1.5 inches in width. You're also going to need about a 4 by 4 square for the body of the duck, a 2 by 2 square for the duck wing, and a 1 by 1 square for the bill. You will also need either some Wonder Under light or Heat and Bond light to adhere it to the fabric before we stitch it. Make sure when you purchase that you get the sew-in type. You do not want the Heat and Bond Ultra Hold because it's not for sew-in, it's for permanently adhering something, even though I don't know how permanent it is when it's used, but you cannot sew through it. It will gum up your needle and cause a lot of problems. You also are going to need about 1.5 inch piece of Velcro or some brand of hook and loop tape. And this is a piece of Heat and Bond Light that you're going to use to trace your applique on. The bumpy side is the side that has the adhesive, the sticky part on it. And the smoother side, which feels more like a parchment paper, is the side you're going to draw on. You're going to have to put your pattern piece together because it comes in two pieces. It's bigger than an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, so it'll has an overlap zone. When you place it on the fold, the top part's also going to end up on the fold, but we're going to cut through that because that's where we wrap the ties around the baby's neck, and it won't be able to fit their head through the neck if we don't cut that point, and that's why we'll use the Velcro. So the fold part that you don't cut is the bottom half of the pattern, or more than half. So pin your pattern in place. You do not need to mark it with chalk because we don't need those chalk lines later, so there's no need in using those. And just cut it out according to the pattern. Then you can remove your pattern and you're going to cut that piece at the top, just like I was talking about. And here is what our baby bib is going to look like, and you can now see why we had to cut that piece. And our backing, of course, is cut the same way that the bib front was cut. And I'm just trying to iron out that center fold. Sometimes it doesn't want to come out, so I'm using a little bit of spray starch. This is Best Press. I love it. It's a very light starch, and it will take out just about any fold. I had it in a generic container because I buy it by the gallon. I mean a generic squirt bottle. But I'll link it below. That is lavender scent. It comes in several scents and unscented. Now we're going to trace our applique pattern, but first we need to iron all of our pieces. A little starch on them will help. We want to flip our duck pattern over to trace it, so that because we're going to be tracing it to apply to the back of our fabric, therefore we need the back of our pattern traced. If you can't see your outline when you flip your pattern over, just go back to the front and trace it with a Sharpie, and it'll bleed through enough that you'll be able to see the outline through the Heat and Bond or Wonder Under. This is the one we did before, or I did this before, and my duck is pointed the wrong direction there because I didn't flip it over. So you want to make sure and flip it over. Not that it matters which way the duck goes, but if there were wording or there's a lot of pictures that it would matter a lot. So we're going to trace each piece individually. The bill, the wing, and the body. Then we're going to cut it out, leaving about a 1/4 inch around each piece, and adhere it to the back of our fabrics with an iron. And we're going to lose that those steps here briefly. And so if you need more detailed information, please refer back to the Baby Burp Rag video, and I'll link it below. All right, I'm back after some camera issues. I'm definitely a better seamstress than I am GoPro operator. So pretend that you saw me cut all this out and iron it on. Now I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch it myself all the way around with a small zigzag stitch. I used a width of 1 and a length of 2 to go around mine, but you can do it with a straight seam if you don't have a zigzag. And this is the part that could be a little challenging for children, so they would probably need help from a parent to do this part, or maybe they could do something a little more simple like a ball or a balloon. So let me take it over to the sewing machine and stitch that, and then I'll get back with you. Okay, I'm back from stitching the applique on, and it doesn't look as good as the last one. I kind of got off on the bill a little bit. There's some pretty sharp turns in there. So if yours doesn't look perfect, don't worry about it. As long as it stays on when it's washed, it will be perfectly fine. Now we're going to continue just like we did for the burp rag. We're going to pin right sides together of our backing fabric and our bib, and then we're going to go to the machine and we are going to stitch it a 1/4 inch all the way around. And I will take you on that journey with me so you can see how I go around those tight curves at the top. Actually, I want to pin it on this side because I'm going to sew it from this side. I want to stay a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric, because sometimes your lining fabric isn't quite perfectly aligned, but you want what shows in the front to be symmetrical, so you want to take a 1/4 inch all the way around on it. Actually, we need to take a 3/8 inch seam on this, and the reason for that being this is such thick fabric that it's easy to get off and not catch it all. All right, I'm still having some camera issues today. I don't know what's going on, but you didn't get to see me stitch it or turn it, and I apologize for that, but it is exactly like what we did on the burp rag. I will try to figure out what's going on with my camera, that it just keeps shutting down with no warning. But I have turned it in after I stitched it all the way around, and I left an opening. I also either clipped it or used the peeking shears to trim all the curves. And then I turned it right side out and I ironed it, ironing or 3/8 inch on both pieces in. Now I'm going to take it to the machine and top stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And the reason we do that is so we catch our seam. Top stitching can be further out and it still look pretty. But if we put it too far out, it won't catch our seam, and we want to close that. So our top stitching is doing dual purpose. So let's go to the sewing machine and hope the camera cooperates. Okay, I backstitched a little bit, and I found me a place on my presser foot that I'm lining it up. And I'm just going to stitch all the way around, hoping that I keep my top stitching seam pretty even. Now, while I'm still at the sewing machine, let's go ahead and sew on our Velcro. We want to put one piece on the back side and one piece on the front side, like that. And the reason we want it at least 1.5 inches long is so there's some room for adjusting it depending on how big the baby's neck is. And I just sew that in a square around the edges. Say a square, a rectangle. Okay, since this one's on the underneath side, we need to put this one on the top side. Now let's take it back over to the ironing board. Okay, Let's give it one more last steam on top of our top stitching. We can put our Velcro together, and now we have a cute baby bib to gift to whomever we want. And it also coordinates very well with our burp rag that we made last time. There's our burp rag. Okay, join me this Wednesday for an advanced version of this. And what we're going to learn to do in that video is a different method of appliquing so that you don't have these raw seams showing, because raw seams can ravel, but if you've stitched real close to the edge, they probably won't. But if you want a little more finished look on your applique, join me for a quick video on that. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for weathering all the camera errors with me today. I don't know what's going on with my camera today. It seems to have a mind of its own. It's probably, though, operator error. But I appreciate you hanging in with me to this point, and join me on Wednesday for our next project. Remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of the Lord. Thank you.